So I know that was a very brief introduction to 2 lines of Node and of JavaScript, but we're now moving on to more important things that are relevant to MySQL. And the first thing we'll do is talk about a package called Faker. So the first question you might have is, what is a package? And basically, Node comes with thousands and thousands of libraries. You might have heard them called, or packages or modules, code that other people have written that we can include inside of our application really simply. All I have to do is say install Faker, which is a package we're going to use. But we'll use another package later called Express, or we'll use one called MySQL. And all I have to say is install MySQL, install Faker. And there are thousands of them out there, like I said. And that's one of the biggest strengths of Node, is that it has a huge library of all these packages, so that you don't have to do everything yourself. You can go and get some help by including somebody else's package. So the way we do it is through something called NPM, Node Package Manager. And to install Faker, which, don't worry, I'll explain what Faker is. This is all we have to type into our terminal, npm install Faker. But before we go there, let me show you what Faker is. So Faker is a package that there's a bunch of different versions of it. I think the original one was for Ruby. I'm not positive, but there's Faker kind of implementations for other languages, including JavaScript. And what it does is it really helps us. It streamlines the process of generating fake data. So we're going to use it because we want to start off with a bunch of fake data in our database. I don't know, if you noticed, I had 519 users in my database. I did not enter those manually. And they're all unique. They have a different unique email address. I did not generate those myself. So we're going to use Faker to do that. So Faker's very simple. I can say things like faker.address.county, and it will give me a random county name, and it has hundreds of them. Or I could say let's say name.job descriptor, and it will give me a random job descriptor. So there's tons of things in here: phone numbers, random numbers, file names, colors, avatars, emails, usernames, domains, passwords, like so many things that we could pick from. Credit card, fake credit card numbers, account numbers. You get it, hopefully. So back in Cloud9 now, what I'm going to do is actually empty this file entirely, app.js. You can make a new file if you'd like. And now I'm going to install Faker so we can use it. So this video, I probably could have done a better job explaining this, is about 2 things. One, Faker, but on a higher level, packages in general and how you use them. So this is the workflow for using a package. We type npm install, the name of the package, and hit enter. And it will take a second. And that on its own installs a package. You'll notice I have a new folder here called Node Modules. Inside, there's all the Faker code, all this stuff. So all that is here now. I just had to type a single line. It's pretty awesome. Now in my app.js, I can't just start using it immediately. I can't just say faker.email or something. I first have to tell this file I want to use Faker. I have to include it or import it. And it's very easy. I'm just going to say var faker equals require Faker. So this right here, it's a variable. I can call this anything. I could say my Faker. I'm going to call it Faker standard. And this is the part that I can't change. This has to be Faker. So this is going to go find a package that I've installed in Node Modules with the name Faker, and then save it into this variable. So now whenever I use the word Faker, referring to this variable, I actually am referring to the package. So then we can do things with it. So we could do something like this: faker.internet.email. And that will generate things like this, or this, or this. Ori23, Simone Walsh, Aubrey_Daughtry, numbers. We've got Hotmail and Gmail and Yahoo. So this would be a pain if we were doing this ourselves to come up with 500 individual emails. And the other thing I'll show you is we're going to use it for dates. So I'll be able to say faker.date, and this is important, .past. So we don't want to have any future dates. Basically, we want to start with 500 users in our database who have signed up at some point in the past. So it will generate things like this. So we also don't want to have to do that ourselves. So let's start with faker.internet.email. And we need parentheses at the end, sort of like MySQL. It's a function. We're telling it to execute. If I just do it on its own, and I run the file now, which is app.js, nothing happens. Well, that's a lie. It does happen. This runs, but we don't see the result. And that's because we need to print it. So we can do console.log like this. There we go. Now, if I run it again, I see, okay, we get a new email. Jared, Leila, Trevor, whatever. So we're getting these fake emails. We're going to use that along with, I'm going to copy this and do faker.date.past, which was the other thing I showed you. We're going to use those two to generate 500 users. So basically this is one user. So it's kind of fun to play around with Faker a bit. You could do, hacker abbreviation or finance currency symbol or Bitcoin address. Let's do address and then city. So we could do, I'll get rid of these two for now. Console.log faker.address.city. And if we save and run that, there we go, Robertoville. And if we tried it again, we get something different. New Alexandro Fort. So that's the basics of Faker. I will show you if you already know JavaScript, skip this section, but I just want to show a bit more, sort of the extended version of Crash Course in Node, how we can string things together and make more complex logic. So let's say I wanted to generate a complete address. So I wanted, a number and the street and a city. Let's start with those three. So Faker has ways of doing that. We've got, what do we have? Street name and street address. So let's start with that. We've got faker.address.street address. Let's start there and run this again. Okay, so there we go. That's working. Then we've got the city, right? And then let's say we wanted to do a state as well, if we're working in the US. Perfect. So here's a complete address, right? Now every time, let's say I want 3 different addresses, I would have to copy these lines like that. Which is not the end of the world, right? We can copy lines. But there's a much better way of doing this. So what we could do instead is create what's known as a function. And I'll just call this generate address. Think of this as a way of reusing our code. And the syntax looks like this: function, a name, parentheses, and then brackets. And whatever we put in those brackets will be run every time I refer back to generate address. So on its own, if I just save this, nothing is going to happen. When I hit save, now I go down here to node, we don't get anything. What I have to do is now call this function just like this. Now it's saying, okay, is there something called generate address? Oh, yes, there is. All right, well, let's run the 3 lines inside of it. So if I ran this 3 times, now it's only 3 lines to do that. And we get 3 different addresses. Of course, we might want to, compile these together so that they're not on 3 separate lines. Maybe we want commas between them. We could really improve it. But the point is that that's basically how you define a function. And we'll be working with functions later on. But for now, that's all I'm going to show. Okay, so that's the basics of Faker, the basics of packages. We'll be installing other packages, as well as the basics of Node.